If you're new to flying drones and your Zino might be your first one, this checklist will pretty much get it up there to make sure that you have a safe flight and just minimize the chances of you having it coming crashing down and you losing your money. So the first thing that I would do is check the app, one of the apps like before you fly, and make sure you're not in a no-fly zone, and just make sure there's no buildings or people or anything like that around you when you get ready to take off. So that's just a safety precaution to make sure you are legal to fly in that area and that you're not going to crash into somebody. All right, number 2, go ahead and make sure your takeoff area for the Zino does not have precision landing, and it can be way off sometimes when it's coming home, when it's landing. So notice where I have my pad is way out there. I've actually had it take off there, and where this tree is, almost come down and hit this tree. So it will come home. It's come home every time. I've flown over 80 flights. Even if I had disconnect, it has come home. But just know that if you're disconnected and you can't get control back of your quad and it auto lands, it's going to land where it thinks home is. If it thinks it's in this tree, that's where it's going to land. All right, enough about that. So we'll go ahead and turn on the drone and we'll go over the rest of the stuff that I check. All right, so we got the Zino all synced up and it's ready to go. So there's a few things we want to check before we take off. One is the battery level. Right now it says 100%, and on the controller I have 3 bars, so that's good enough for now. And also you want to check your channel selection. So I'll go into the settings, into the controls, Wi-Fi settings, and here you can see which ones have the least amount of interference. I went ahead and changed a second ago, but if you want, we'll wait for it to come back on. Sometimes when you go into this menu. Alright, so let's go ahead and change channels to, let's say, 149. It'll reboot and then come up on that channel. So if you see there's a bunch of interference in that channel, just go ahead and switch it and go to one that has the least amount of interference. That way you won't have that when you get up in the air. But granted, the interference that you get right here may be different than, say, 600, 700 feet out. Alright, so next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and do a compass calibration. If you are in a new location, you go ahead and do that. I'm not going to do that here. I've been flying in the same location, so I'm not going to worry about a compass calibration. And next, you want to make sure you have a GPS lock. And right now I have 10 satellites, and that should be good enough for taking off now. Anywhere from 10 to 14, the more you have, the better. And to check that, so you want to go to your map. So the main thing about the GPS, especially when it comes to return to home, is when you look on the map and you zoom into it, that's where it thinks home is. So if you think everything's good and you click on your map, but you see your drone like over your house, that's where it thinks home is. That's where it thinks home is, and it will try to land there. So make sure you have GPS lock. Make sure your map looks good, so that way if you have any issues and it automatically comes home, hopefully it will not land on anything it's not supposed to. Alright, so one of the last things we'll do is we'll put it in airplane mode, and that just eliminates some of the interference that you may have with the Wi-Fi signals coming out of your phone. So we went ahead and put that into airplane mode. Alright, next we will make sure our SD card is formatted. So we'll go into settings, format SD, formatting. So it does a speed check and it'll format it. So sometimes if you get speed issues on your card, even though you've used it before, go ahead and format it in the drone and not in your computer, and let it do its own speed test. So we'll just let it do its thing and then come back. Alright, so once that's done, the last thing I recommend to do is to do a screen record. I'm recording my screen right now, obviously, because you can see it up there, but you can see it's recording. But I would do a screen record, especially if it's a new drone under warranty. If you have any issues, you want to be able to prove it's not you, having your screen recorded is the best option, because that way you can show that it wasn't your fault. This is what I've done, and it just fell out of the sky. Oh, last thing I didn't cover is before you go taking off anywhere, you want to check your wind direction. So to do that, you can, if you don't know which way the wind's coming, you can go up some and then go forward as fast as you can, the direction that you plan on going. And I'm going at 28 feet per second. That's good. If I turn it around and hit full sticks forward, I'm going 28, 27. So I know that I can go straight out in front of me and I'd be able to come back with good speed. Now if I'm sitting there and I go out at 30 or 29 or whatever, but coming back I can't get more than 14, you need to know that so that you leave enough battery to where you can get home. The best thing to do is to take off into the wind and go into the wind. That way when you're coming back, the wind is to your back, and that way you'll know you'll have enough battery to get home. Alright, last thing is I would let it loiter for a little while. Just let it, make sure it has GPS lock. The more you let it just sit there and make sure it's getting its GPS satellites, because right now I'm up to 13 satellites once it was in the air, and I'm not toilet bowling, so chances are that while I'm out there in flight, it's not going to start circling. That's pretty much it for a little quick reference, pre-flight check. And you should do some kind of pre-flight check before you take off every time. It may seem a little redundant, some of the things, or you may think I don't need to do it, but it's the one time you don't do something, and you should have, is when you lose your drone. So just try to make everybody fly safe and keep your quad intact. That way you don't have to shell out some more money. Alright, if you like my video, please like and subscribe as usual, and thanks for watching.